What is up, everybody? It is the effing podcast. I'm Nick Harrington, joined by the one and only Bowen Belmer. We are breaking down Singapore, probably the best race we've seen all season, with Carlos Sainz finally getting a dub and breaking the streak that Red Bull's put together. We're breaking it all down right here, coming at you. Also, big shout out to Sony and Gran Turismo for hooking us up with a bunch of great merch. Send us a DM if you want this. We got some sunglasses we're giving out. We got some cool fanny packs. We got some posters back there if you can see them. So send us a DM. Happy to give these out to some lucky fans. Let's do this. We had a race last weekend.
We had a good race last weekend.
We were in Singapore under the lights.
Well, we weren't in Singapore.
I wish
we were in Singapore.
God damn. Bo, race of the season?
Easily.
Like, we've been saying all year, what would this season look like if Red Bull wasn't in it? And we finally got our fucking answer of what it would look like, and it's really fucking entertaining.
It's awesome. Yeah, it's awesome when everyone's actually competitive. And, I mean, the last couple laps were electric.
Okay, the last couple laps, I was on the edge of my seat watching. I mean, like, there's so much we should dive into. I don't even know where we should start with this. Maybe with the fact that Carlos Sainz finally breaks the goddamn Red Bull curse and gets us a dub for a non-Red Bull driver.
Yeah, no, absolutely unbelievable. Finally. I just love that not only did he get the win, but Red Bull weren't even in the conversation. You know, I thought that if and when we got the first non-Red Bull win of the season, it would be like a Max P2, Checo P3 kind of situation. Yeah. They weren't even in the conversation, which made it so much fun. I think we should start, though, at qualifying and go through the whole weekend.
Yeah.
So qualifying was pretty entertaining.
Qualifying was chaotic.
Yeah. Did you see the lizard thing?
The lizards were crazy, dude. Godzillas were on the fucking track. Didn't one get ran over?
Probably.
I think PETA was out there.
There was a couple of them, though, because I saw that, you know, the first one was out there and people were talking about it on the radio, and then a couple laps later, there was another smaller one, and Max was talking about Godzilla's kid. There was all this good stuff.
Also, lizards
so that was this year? I thought that was like an old clip or something.
No, that was from Saturday.
Like 3 days ago. The lizards that I'm used to here in the States are like the size that can fit in your hand. Those things weren't lizards, bro. Those were like Komodo dragons.
They were iguanas, bro.
They were giants.
Oh, they're huge.
They were huge. Is that just normal? Like downtown has like giant lizards running around?
I guess.
In Florida, there's like
massive iguanas.
Big iguanas, yeah.
Yeah, and that's because some guy had him as a pet and let him loose. And
Wait,
they
really?
just like took over. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Really?
Yeah.
That's kind of wild.
Mm-hmm.
We can't talk about this qualifying, though, without talking about our boy Lance Stroll.
Dude.
Wow.
That was one of the biggest crashes I think I've ever seen. In the last 3 years, probably Roman Grosjean's crash, where he went through the wall and his car literally burst into a ball of flames. Max Verstappen and Cops, was that 2 years ago when him and Hamilton got into each other?
Joe last year.
Joe's was huge. This might be up there as like, top 4, top 5, as far as just like impacts go. And the fact that he was able to walk away from that, man.
I was going to say, he made it look like not that big of a deal. He must have been obviously more shaken up than it looked initially because he didn't race on Sunday.
Yeah.
But yeah, hit the wall hard. And then, I mean, I think it was Lando. It was either Lando or Piastri, but I think it was Lando just barely dodged him coming around the corner. I mean, dude, he could have killed him.
Yeah,
like,
easily.
It was seriously one of those crashes that was like,
if he would have hit him, like, that would have been a T-bone incident. Both guys would be lucky to be alive after that. And like, dude, they even said like 10 years ago, that crash is not survivable. Yeah. Like just the safety that these cars now have, it's like game changing in terms of like things like that someone can just walk away.
Yeah, which is good. And, you know, we obviously hope Lance is okay and makes a full recovery. It is just another like bad Lance Stroll outcome, though. Mm-hmm. I mean, he just seems not in it, man. Like, I think he's going to just walk. Maybe not this year, but like soon. Maybe next year.
I mean, he hasn't really been performing. Alonso's been killing him in like results qualifying. And yeah, this was like, who knows how he's going to recover from this, man. Like, he had the bad injury at the start of the season with the pins in his hands. That was just a rough crash and like the collision. He didn't race the next day just because he's sore. Who knows if we'll see him next week, you know?
Yeah. So the other major stories coming out of qualifying, though, Liam Lawson making Q3 in only his third race ever. That was crazy. Knocking out Max Verstappen, not just making Q3, but actually knocking Red Bull out of Q3, which was really insane. Is Lawson him? Is Lawson that dude?
Dude, so I'm not surprised to see that Perez didn't get into Q3. because that's kind of been him all season is, he just doesn't know how to fucking drive a car. But the fact that, the Red Bulls, first off, looked so bad this season. Their practice pace was not there. Yet qualifying, they weren't even like in contention to get into Q3. It was like, if they would have gotten through that would have been like a fucking blessing. They just looked tough. We can kind of talk later about like the why and whatnot, but
it almost looked like a race hangover. Like we talked about this with Gasly and Alpine a couple weeks ago. He gets on the podium, and then the next week they just completely shit the bed and they both DNF. This seemed like a race hangover. Like they finally broke through. They broke the record for consecutive wins, or Max did it rather. And they just weren't in it. Like it was just a total hangover. I saw a funny Instagram post that Valtteri Bottas posted, and it was streaks of making it to Q3. Red Bull Racing as a team went 102 races making Q3 from Russia 2018 to Singapore 2023.
That's fucking crazy.
Valtteri Bottas went 103 races making Q3.
Damn, let's go.
From Australia 2017 to Australia 2022. So just taking a nice little subtle jab. I love that.
Yeah.
People forget how
he was good, man.
He was with Mercedes.
Probably the best number 2 driver of all time.
Yeah, it just reminds me of like Talladega Nights. Like he is Magic Man. Like he's the most consistent number 2.
Now you see me. Now you don't.
And people just forget about him a little bit, but that was kind of funny. I love that he posted that. It was pretty good. The other just quick thing that happened in qualifying as well was the shakeup with Yuki Tsunoda doesn't get a lap because Red Bull impedes on the last lap. Was that intentional for the purpose? Like, it wasn't even this incident specific. There seems to be a lot of weird stuff going on between Red Bull and AlphaTauri. And I know that they're sister teams, but there always seems to be like a underlying like tinfoil hat, like Red Bull's somehow using AlphaTauri to gain an advantage in some way, shape, or form. I mean, did you see that so Max impeded Yuki, which ended up leaving him not getting a final lap in Q2. And when the investigation happened with the FIA, AlphaTauri didn't send any representatives.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, they just sent nobody. So they dropped it, and there's no penalty for Max.
That's weird.
That's what I'm saying. Like
the impeding thing, okay, that happens. But the fact that AlphaTauri didn't even like back it up because they know it could get their like daddy team in trouble.
Yeah,
that's a little fucked up.
They just didn't even send anybody.
Yeah, because Max just got like a reprimand after that, and it's like, he clearly impeded him.
Right, and if it was any other, and I'm not even bringing it up. It was Yuki, but like that's not the point. The point is that like
if that was Hamilton that got impeded in Mercedes, we'd still be hearing about that forever.
Yeah, and he would have lost multiple. He probably would have lost places on qualifying.
Mm-hmm.
So it was very odd, and there always seems to be this weird underlying like narrative going on. I can't quite put my finger on it, but it's strange.
Yeah, agreed.
And other teams have got to be pissed about it. I would be really annoyed if I was on another team. Okay, jumping into the actual race itself.
Yeah, so dude, this race kind of a slow burner because we saw for the first time Red Bulls not get into Q3, so we saw really what this would look like. Singapore typically doesn't bring the most exciting races. I don't think we saw a lot of true on-track overtakes this whole race. But dude, Ferrari, we shit on them so much for being the Ferrari of the week, for not knowing how to fucking race a team, for going, if I was managing this team, I'd do a better job. And guess what, dude? Their strategy and Sainz's big brain moves that he had this weekend was some of the best strategery I've ever seen in my fucking life. How they said, we saw pretty much the whole, like the first 40 laps, the leader and the 15th place driver almost had the same pace the entire time. And they did that intentionally to keep the pack bunched up so you couldn't pit and undertake someone, because if you pit, you're losing tons of time. You're going to be down in 15th position, not in like 4th or 5th. Like the pack would be spread out. Can we talk about the end? Can we just like flash forward to the end of the race?
I know. We have to just jump right to the end.
We got to talk about
and then
the
we'll
end.
talk about everything else.
Because dude, like this played out so fucking well for Mercedes, man. We had the
almost,
yeah, almost so well, because they had that extra medium tire that they were talking about the whole time. And I remember thinking like, okay, this is like a one-stop race. How is an extra medium really going to help them? Because they're going to go mediums, hards, they're going to go back to mediums. I just don't see that happening. We're in a situation where we've got Sainz in first, Lando Norris in second. We've got a virtual safety car that comes out late. The Mercedes take a huge fucking risk. They pull Russell out of second position to pit him. Hamilton goes in and pits. And so we've got now the Mercedes on fresh tires, stalking their prey, man. Lap by lap, chipping away at the interval between Lando Norris and Carlos Sainz. And these announcers, Martin Brundle, they were ready to put $1 million fucking bucks on a George Russell win.
Yeah.
They were so ready to be like, yep, Carlos, he's fucked. Lando Norris, he's fucked.
Just literally like heading into the last probably 5 laps, it was basically them saying, all right, he's going to pass him any second now. Like they're already basically penciling in the Mercedes 1-2. But holy shit, big brain strategy from Sainz. He kept Lando within 1 second the entire time, so Lando could keep DRS.
Yes.
So he basically would keep himself out of passing for both Russell and Hamilton.
Yeah, because
it was crazy.
He would have been a fucking sitting duck by himself. Yeah. And the fact when I mean, this is kind of like Ferrari. Their drivers have better strategy while they're driving the car than the actual team engineers do. And like Leclerc has been known to do this, to like call shots that are better calls than what the engineer who's on a salary to just make good decisions. Sainz, like no one told him to do this, you know? He goes, I need an interval every race, every lap for Lando. And they go, Lando's within DRS. He's only 0.8 away. And Sainz, big dick move of all time, just goes, I'm doing that on purpose.
It's on purpose, yeah.
Yeah, and then the Mercedes, dude, I almost think though, Russell was driving. He had a really good weekend. He looked great in that car. Hamilton, I think, was the racier guy though. He was on Russell's gearbox that entire time, dude. Yeah. I think if Hamilton was in front of Russell, I think he would have been able to get that move done around Lando and potentially around Sainz. He wasn't.
So that was really the save. With 2 laps to go, Russell made a play on Lando and he defended it like so unbelievably well.
Yeah.
I think you're right. Hamilton probably would have made that pass, and that's just experience and you know, being a seasoned vet, basically. Lando held him off really great, though. And then Russell coming around the last turn, nose dives into the wall, loses his P3. You cannot... I want to feel bad for him, but I just don't. Like, it was funny. I'm not going to lie. There were some chuckles. And I knew you were like dying laughing.
It was like the best thing that I've seen all weekend, you know? And I'm a Max Verstappen fan, you know? And like, but I don't know if that even makes sense. I'm happy that Max didn't win, so where I'm going with that. But yeah, like that camera angle of it was so funny too, because they're whipping around that corner. I think it's like the second to last, like penultimate turn. And it's like, you see Sainz come by, you see Lando go by, then you just see a Mercedes just like, boom, straight out, head first into the fucking barrier. It's like, what the fuck happened there?
It looked like an iRacing lag out. Like, it looked like he lagged.
Yeah, like, oh, no, lost my screen.
Yeah.
So what happened? Why did he...
He clipped the wall.
Yeah, he
was following Lando.
Took a bad line.
And there was a corner where the wall kind of sticks out a little bit. He was following Lando super close. Lando actually just skimmed the wall. And so I think George thought that if he's following Lando's line the exact same, that he'd be okay, which he was. Lando just barely skims the wall. George full on clipped it. And he just goes head first into the wall. What I thought was kind of weird is like, that was the last lap, I think.
Yeah, it was the last lap. It was like literally the second to last turn.
Yeah. They didn't call a safety car there, which they really fucking should have. He was like, there's like runoff there.
No, there was a pretty decent runoff.
Was there?
Yeah, he was off relatively like.
But if anyone else is going to make that same mistake, they're just going to rear end the fuck out of George's car sitting right there.
Yeah, that's true.
I was like, they got to call this, and they just like, I just saw his name going down. Like, okay, the race is almost over.
Did you see how sad he was in the post race?
Especially because he was predicted to be a winner.
I was predicted to be on podium. Yeah, he was. That's true. I think projected. Yeah, I think Hamilton would have won that race.
Yeah,
had he been in that third position, not the fourth position.
Too.
I think you're right about that. So maybe that's, you know, on top of the fact that he DNF'd after being. Technically DNF'd. After being, you know, in P3, like being depressed for that reason. He also, I'm sure, knows deep down, like, that shouldn't have just been a P3. That should have been a win.
A win.
Probably.
Yeah, and I respect him for going for it, but also just a stupid mistake for him to make. Do
you think, was Lando trying to get the win? To me, it felt like he was just like, I'm good enough in P2, like, defend, basically.
I don't think he had the pace to get around Sainz the whole time. Like, I feel like the Ferrari was really milking their tires the entire time. They were not putting in good laps. They were just, like, running that tire race. And, dude, Leclerc's tire the last lap, they fell off. Max was gaining, like, 10 seconds a lap on him or something crazy stupid like that, where Sainz's tires he probably had, like, if there was another lap in that, his tires probably would have been fucking gone. But, dude, I think just, like, Sainz and Lando, two of the greatest guys of all time on the grid right now, former teammates, And just your classic, like, they're helping each other out, Like, Lando, Sainz is helping Lando secure him a podium. By doing so, he's securing himself a win. Lando was probably just like, you know what? I'm going to follow this guy all the way to a second place.
To appreciate that Lando back on the
Yeah,
podium.
Lando on the podium, dude.
I know.
Lando on the fucking podium,
It's a
man.
fun time when Lando's on the podium.
It's a great fucking
and I
time.
hope we see it more. Do you think he'll? I mean, I feel like the Lando to Red Bull talk is dead completely now. No,
I haven't seen anything
I
else.
haven't seen anything else
any
about
chatter
it other than last week. So I think it's pretty safe to say he will continue to race at McLaren. And yeah, I don't know. Maybe he'll still be the golden boy we all thought he was going to be.
Yeah.
I mean, he's damn good. He's just entertaining as all hell to watch. McLaren in general had a pretty good weekend. I mean, Piastri and P7, it's not bad.
Well, yeah, especially because he got fucked by Stroll's crash where he didn't even get to put like a second flying lap in when the track was really coming alive. So I don't think he got out of Q3.
He did not. He was 17th. Yeah. He never got a lap. Yeah.
So like for him to go from that to a considerable like finish, a great recovery drive by Piastri.
Yeah, they're good. I think they're like the team to watch right now. They are what Aston Martin looked like they might be at the beginning of the year.
They've kind of swapped places.
Yeah, by the way, Aston Martin, I mean, Stroll was obviously out. He had a true DNS. Yuki had a DNS. We'll get to that in a second. Fernando, though, looked terrible.
Dude.
He blamed it on the car. So maybe, and you know what? I trust Fernando.
I trust him too.
There's very few drivers that if they blame it on the car, I'll be like, yeah, it was probably the car.
He's one of them.
It was probably the car.
Yeah, and I was ready to come on this podcast to talk and just pump smoke up Alonso and be like, he's the most consistent driver. I think he's the only driver to get top 10 for every race so far this season until now. He's outperformed that car all season, but he went from being this car is fucking amazing, this car is a dream, to literally saying this car is undrivable. So he's not very happy right now.
Yeah.
Also, he couldn't even manage to stay within the white line, go to make a pit stop.
Yeah. Dude, he finished behind Sargent, who's basically a tourist at this point.
Yeah.
So,
and Sargent also had a crash at some point, too.
So, I don't know. Speaking of which, Williams, Sargent being Sargent, he's gone. His seat's done. Like, he's done. Right? I mean, there's no way.
There's no more excuse of Sargent, you're a rookie.
Yeah.
That is gone, especially because we've got Liam Lawson, who has absolutely just shown how good you can be as a rookie. And Piastri, who's driving the fucking socks out of that car.
They both look great. Lawson is that dude. He looks awesome. Let's just talk AlphaTauri really quick.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Lawson looks amazing. We'll talk in a second about what we think is going to happen with them next year. Yuki, another DNS, effectively. He got one lap in. I will say, so when I watched this live, I was just like, dude, hands on my face. Like, what is going on?
What
did you
happened?
see? Yeah. So did you see the onboard?
No.
Perez, they had a collision basically on the first lap, and it didn't. You couldn't really tell in real time, but I saw the pictures after the fact. There was so much damage on the entire right side of Yuki's car. I don't know how Checo didn't have like a massive puncture himself. Yuki had a puncture, and then he also had a ton of damage on the side of the car.
Okay.
So and it was just like a racing incident. They got too close. Checo took the inside. Yuki was. They both tried to take the inside basically because there was when everything was really tight. And
so do you think he could have finished? Like
no shot.
No,
no, literally no shot. In real time, it looked like not that big of a deal.
Yeah, because I was like, if it's a puncture, man, just take it to the fucking pits and put on a damn new tire.
In real time, it looked not as bad as it actually was.
Yeah, okay.
So I just feel bad for him. 2 races in a row, just can't even get off. And what's so crazy about it is he went from a couple, like a good string of races in a row where it was like, okay, he's obviously going to get his contract renewed. He's holding his own against Ricciardo. To now, there's all this chatter online about him losing his seat. Now, as of today, I don't know if you saw this or not, but it was announced that he is expected to re-sign at AlphaTauri this week in Japan.
Okay.
At his home race. And so, as of right now, the anticipated AlphaTauri lineup for next year is Tsunoda and Ricciardo, not Lawson.
Wow.
And as per all of the guys on Twitter who are in the know.
I trust them.
Yeah. Twitter never is wrong about anything ever.
No, I get most of my news from there.
So that begs the question, though.
Yuki's got to be in the hot seat, right?
No, in my opinion, the only right answer is Yuki and Lawson. Ricciardo's washed. I mean, okay, he's not actually washed, and I think he's still good, but the upside with Ricciardo is a lot smaller than the upside with Lawson, definitely. And with Yuki, I mean, is the goal to develop young drivers, or is it to like have an ex superstar that you can market and make money off of. Because that's, I don't think as they exist today, Ricardo is better than Yuki. I don't.
Well, he's not today because he has a cast on his hand.
Okay, not literally today. I agree. I mean, as of this season.
I don't know. It's hard. If I was AlphaTauri and I was in charge of that team, I know this is going to hurt you for me to say, I think Yuki's on the hot seat for no other reason than he's had 2 DNFs that weren't really his fault.
They had nothing to do with him,
But
though.
Liam Lawson has been driving the absolute, that car's fucked.
Yeah.
We're looking at a video of Yuki's car. Yeah, that thing is done.
Yeah, it's way worse than you thought it was.
Yeah.
So
that's some damage. That's some collateral damage.
Yeah, I didn't mean to cut you off. I wanted to show you that. Yeah.
I just think Lawson is, dude, it's also hard because we don't have a true guidepost of where Yuki and Lawson would be. But like, he's been driving. He's the best, maybe Piastri, but he's one of the best rookies on the grid right now. And he's only, 2.5, 3 races in.
Yeah, well, and this is the question. I think they really need a couple races of not DNSing Yuki to get a really good benchmark because Zandvoort a couple weeks ago was so ridiculous that it wasn't a good measuring stick. And then we had 2 DNSs in a row. So they haven't really driven head-to-head against each other.
No.
When even in qualifying this week, at the end of Q1, Yuki was in P2.
Right.
And then in
I think he was P1. He was provisional pole at the end of Q1.
Q1. Oh, I think you're right. He was actually P1. Yeah. So then in Q2, he didn't even get a lap.
No.
Or at least the last lap. So like they haven't really gone head to head yet, which is I'm imagining that's why there's a question mark between him and Ricardo. But I don't know. You also have the Nick DeVries situation from last year where he becomes a fill-in driver, takes P9, gets points on his debut, and then gets a seat at AlphaTauri and is just a dumpster fire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So maybe they're concerned about Lawson being similar. I don't know. I personally think what should happen is Yuki Lawson, Ricardo becomes a reserve driver at Red Bull, and then they potentially swap him for Checo if he doesn't perform. What I think will happen is Yuki, Ricardo, and Lawson will take that seat at Williams. And I think it'll be a huge mishap for Red Bull.
Yeah, I'm trying to follow everything you just said. Dude, what I think would be cool is why don't you just have 3 drivers? You know how you have like 2 quarterbacks sometimes?
If you got 2, you don't have 1, though. That's what they say.
If you got 2, you don't have 1. That's true. And if you got 3, you don't have 2.
You don't have 2, yeah.
And you're always got guys that are like racing on edge versus like comfortable in their seat.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a tough call.
Ricardo he's not going to be back for Japan. Rumor is he'll be back by Qatar. Do you think Ricardo's going to race over Lawson in that race?
I don't know. It's
really
so hard to say,
man. I mean, it's a good problem for AlphaTauri to be in, I'd say.
Yeah,
because like they've looked better these last 3 weekends than they have all season.
Yeah,
and it's because Lawson has been in that seat.
Yeah, but they also just haven't even had a second driver race. But it's not by any fault of his own. It was all mechanical issues, or I guess the racing incident you could maybe view it as his fault, quote unquote. But I mean that shit happens.
Yeah.
Like that's hard to predict. So it's a weird spot.
It's
like,
tough.
Depending on what criteria you use to rank them, I think I could make like a 1, 2, 3 argument in a different way every time. Not really any situation where Lawson's in the 1 as of right now. But between Yuki and Ricardo, it is kind of a question mark. Here's the other thing that's weird. Had Ricardo not gotten hurt, Yuki re-signing would have not even been a question.
True.
So that makes it weird too, because like the worst thing that's ever happened to Yuki now was actually Ricardo getting injured, because now you get this third party come in that's like,
it's actually DeVries getting fired. This is the worst thing that's ever happened now.
Yeah. That's true.
They've had 4 drivers on that team this
year.
Isn't that That's wild? Fucking crazy.
I know.
That's fucking insane, man.
I know. It's so good.
There's also rumors, so Hugo Boss was like lined up to be their sponsor next year.
Yeah, is that not happening?
Rumor is Adidas might be their new headline sponsor, which would be fucking sick.
I would really enjoy that over Hugo Boss.
Bro, and if Adidas is the sponsor, it's going to be Ricardo.
Yeah.
That just makes sense. From a marketability perspective, to have Daniel Ricciardo repping Adidas.
Does that mean like an Adidas car?
Yeah.
Well, it would be branded Adidas, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Which would be so sick.
They'd be like,
AlphaTauri would basically become Adidas Racing or Adidas
Isn't
Rosso.
There a team switching? Oh, is an Audi coming on?
Audi's coming
26.
in. Yes.
Oh, 26.
Which, Audi's 26, and that's also the year. I was also thinking that's when Aston Martin is switching to Honda Motor, which is the other reason I think Yuki's not going to lose a seat, because I think he will take that Aston Martin seat in 2026
with Japan.
Yes, with the Honda connection. And so they're basically like, he he's getting a seat as long as Lance Stroll's getting a seat, and the second Lance Stroll's out, Yuki's taking that seat. That's what I think. But that's 2 years away.
Yeah.
So
lot could happen.
What about a Ricardo, Yuki AlphaTauri, and a Max Verstappen loss in Red Bull?
I like that better.
Honestly.
I think like AlphaTauri has got 3 good drivers. Any one of them could perform. I don't see Ricardo going back to Red Bull. I think they want someone that's going to like challenge Max more.
Yeah.
Like not like
for some
fight
reason
for a championship, but challenge him more.
I don't think Yuki will ever get that Red Bull seat. I don't. I wish he would, but I don't think he will.
I think he's too insane. Like
He's
mentally,
a little
he's need
crazy.
to mature. He needs to mature a little bit. You know,
He's a little crazy. For
yeah.
Sure. What else you got for the race?
What else we got, man? Alpine. Let's talk about them. Esteban Ocon had a car failure. Dude, I think one of the saddest radio messages you could hear is anytime there's a car failure and that driver is running in the points, like running higher than they think they should do, and they have just that like pissed off radio message. That is like
It's always just a
saddest shit you could ever imagine.
no,
Yes,
no. Like
Yes.
you literally just hear him screaming no.
It's like they're like watching their dog get ran over by a car or
It's
something.
so
It's
depressing.
So fucking
he literally
sad.
was smacking his wheel, yelling no, and because like it's not his fault. And
right.
it's just,
And they were looking good, dude. So that hurt.
yeah.
Couple of like random thoughts I have on this race though, dude. Bernie Collins, the woman that they keep going to, she is the fucking GOAT, bro. Her insight that she has is so good. She was a former strategy engineer for Alfa Romeo. She's got such a beautiful voice. She has this great accent, and her insight, it's like she like knows so much more about the sport than everyone else that's commentating. Dude, she is just like the greatest addition that F1's brought. I think she was here last year too, but they like went to her way more this race than any other race. And every time she spoke, I was like, thank God they're going back to her. You know, it's like true, like
actual
next
insight.
level insight.
Yeah, no, that is awesome. I love when they do that. Did you see the kids broadcast?
No, I missed it. Did you time
just
in?
for a little bit? Yeah,
Was it good?
it's funny. I think it's hilarious that they do a kids
I
broadcast.
think it's great.
It reminded me of have you seen when the NFL does the Nickelodeon
Yeah, like the
broadcast?
splash zone,
Yeah, it's the best.
slime zone.
Yeah, it's like that.
Yeah.
It reminded me of that, which is pretty great. I love when sports do shit like that.
I like how they're bringing some of these like AWS next gen stats, and they had the one that was like distance to the barrier, and it was like someone that like got close to the barrier, and then it said 1 centimeter away, like close alerts, and then they watched the replay, and he just fucking crushed the barrier. It's like no, he was like he hit it. Like those stats suck.
You know what they need? They need like an NFL red zone for F1. So like you can have the main race on, but then you have like the driver POV cameras, and it like jumps from moment to moment when
Dude,
interesting stuff happens.
They
You know what I mean?
Yeah, because I love the main broadcast. I think they've been getting better at the broadcast, but yeah, there's a lot of like little things where I'm like,
You just
can we
miss.
like look at this again? You know,
Yeah.
but it's like we're focusing on like the battle for first, which I get.
Something else I would like to see, we need more beef in the paddock between engineering teams.
More like
Like there needs to be beef. Like I need to see pit stops happening, and I need to see one team like messing with another team as they're trying to get their pit stop done. You know what I'm saying?
prank wars or something. Oh,
Yeah.
that'd be
How
funny.
entertaining would it be if a team pulls in to do their pit stop and the other team's like I don't even
Rolling
know,
tires, rolling tires in front of them.
or like mooning them, or like doing something hilarious to distract them, because like fast pit stops are such a huge part of racing. That would be awesome.
I think on this note, what if they gave there's just a bunch, you know, the wheel guns that they have,
Yeah.
where like the FIA gives every team the wheel gun, and like one of them is broken. And they don't know
Yeah.
like who's gonna have the broken wheel gun, who
Yeah.
it's gonna be, when it's gonna happen, but they're just like, yep, randomly your wheel gun might be broken.
Yeah. Or okay. So each team at one point in one race in the year will have a planted broken gun, but you don't know which race and when it's going to be. So you know it's going
but
to
it's
happen
happening
at
to
some
you.
point in the season, but you don't know when it's going to happen.
I like
That's
that.
what I'm saying. We need more drama in the paddock, because pit stops, I mean, they're pretty exciting.
Yeah.
But like, it's basically, are they going to make a mistake? Yes or no? Which, by the way, Ferrari with like a 6-second pit stop for Leclerc, setting him back yet again.
Yeah.
What happened there?
That-
Why did he go from 4 to 6?
So he that was under a safety car. He backed up the pack.
That's right.
They
That's when the
double-stacked
double
him.
stack happened.
He came
You're
in,
right.
and then he had traffic going through.
Got
they
it.
had
Yeah,
it was
you're
It
right.
was a clean stop. They had to hold him for a couple seconds for traffic to go through, which was by his own fault. Or how about this? Like randomly at some point, your the way that you're turning actually just reverses. So you're like,
Yeah.
like you go to turn left and you're turning right.
Okay, no, this okay. This is what we need instead of sprint races.
Reverse?
Yeah. Well, okay, those
Reverse wheel.
those commercials. I think they're Buffalo Wild Wings commercials where the fans get to like vote on what happens, or like the ref like calls something in or whatever.
Yeah.
We need, instead of sprint races, the fans get to vote on like different things happening to the drivers, and you can see the votes in real time, but the drivers don't know that it's about to happen. So you can be like, okay, on lap 11, Lewis's steering column is going to be reversed.
Yeah, lap 37, Kevin Magnussen gets ejected from his seat.
Yeah.
I think we're onto something.
Yeah, we really need to spice it up.
Another random thought I have, Danica Patrick did the post-qualifying interviews. I've only seen her do the U.S. races, so I was kind of surprised that she was not at the U.S. race. I've given her a lot of slack, a lot of flack in the past, because she doesn't really know that much about F1. She knows a lot about racing, not about F1. And like she'll say, like when the cars are double file or single file, it's like no one talks about double file or single file unless you're in NASCAR or IndyCar.
Logan Sargent probably does.
Yeah, because that's when he makes his fucking race. Isn't there double file on the start?
Do you think when all the drivers are like hanging out at a presser or something, they're all like talking in their like cool guy European lingo, and Logan's just kind of standing off to the side?
Howdy, y'all.
Yeah. Y'all want to drive double file with me when we get out there today?
You got to check the Daytona 500.
Yo.
Does he have an accent?
No.
Not really. He has an American accent.
Yeah, he just sounds like an American guy.
Yeah,
I drove a Ram 1500.
Was this a Hemi? No, but Danica Patrick did a great job in the post-qualifying interviews. Is where I'm going with this. Good questions, very insightful. So she's back up on top for me.
I feel like F1 had a really great recovery weekend.
We needed this.
Yeah, this was
the
the weekend that we really needed. Everything was like good.
Yeah. Yes.
From start to finish, it was a really fun weekend.
It was a fun race. Like, not that it hasn't been fun, but it kind of just hasn't been fun. Dude.
Well, we've been in autopilot.
Yeah.
We've been just in cruise control. Like this was what we needed. I really hope we see more of it. I don't know. Maybe what if Red Bull just falls off?
Okay, can we talk about this? So no one really knows why the Red Bulls weren't good, because they looked so fucking bad this entire weekend. Max said if this was a drift competition, he would win. It looked like they were on skates the whole time. Sergio Perez had just a random issue in qualifying where I thought he was going to crash, but he saved it. But it was nothing to do with him. It was just the car did not perform. There's a new technical directive. I don't know if you followed this, where basically the engineering teams, there's tolerances to how much your parts can move. And one thing that they've done is they've made really flexible parts. So when you're going fast, they do certain things. Then when you go slow, they do other things to kind of get around this rule. They've changed how much your parts can move. And that came out last week. We're seeing the first time now post-technical directive of what's happening. And so if Red Bull was bad this weekend because of that technical directive,
they might just be bad.
They might just be bad the rest of the season. We'll
see. I mean, I'm not like rooting for them to be bad per se, but I would just love to see more competitive weekends.
Same.
It was so fun.
I'm not rooting for them to be bad, but also like we saw what happens when they're not 1-2 the whole time. When it's not just a Red Bull blowout, you know? Well, this was a Red Bull blowout because they had a fucking bad weekend.
I love, by the way, that a bad weekend for Red Bull
Two cars
still P5, P8.
Max honestly had a really good race, all things being said. They had probably like the worst strategy, like the worst things that could happen to them. Like the safety car came at the absolute worst possible fucking time for them with the strategy that they were running, and he still got 5th.
Imagine being like salty, like truly salty that you got 5th.
We're probably gonna start seeing headlines that like Christian Horner under the hot seat to get fired. Like that's like kind of what they're expecting.
It's gonna be, should Checo be worried about his seat, and should Christian Horner be worried about his seat?
Yeah.
All right. Let's jump into the mini award show.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's all I had, man.
Oh, actually, really quick, before we jump into the mini week award show.
Yeah.
Quick update. Boop, boop. Tattoo bet update.
Oh, yes. Good call.
AlphaTauri in the points.
Mm-hmm.
Alfa Romeo not in the points. Alfa Romeo now sits at 10 points in the constructors. AlphaTauri at 5. So are you getting nervous yet?
Whoa. Let me look up the constructor points real quick. Dude, I thought Haas. Okay, yeah. Well, Haas was at 10. They got 2 points. Or they got 1 point. Long story short, to answer your question, Bo, they still got 5 points to go. 5 points. And guess what? It's really hard to get points when one of your drivers can't even start a fucking race.
But what if they can, though? What if, now bear with me. What if Yuki makes it past the first lap of next week's race?
What if he starts?
Yeah. What if Yuki gets to lap 5?
Yeah. What if? I have a dream that AlphaTauri finishes both drivers.
Yeah.
Dude, that's a little bit much to ask for.
In the points. By the way, really quick, did you know that Alfa Romeo drove this weekend?
No. I had zero idea.
Did you
I
know
knew Haas was driving this weekend because they both got into Q3.
Actually, yes. We
Pretty
should talk
cool.
about Haas really
I
quick.
was
We
gonna
didn't
mention that Haas with P7 or
Yeah.
P10.
Yeah, we
P10.
didn't give him any credit. They actually looked good for Haas.
Yeah.
So-
very good. And their car, they always have decent qualifying. They got decent qualifying pace. Race pace kind of drops off. I think we saw that truly come here. I think they also kind of timed and got in out of Q1 at a good time. But yeah, like they put together something well. But like to go back to this, AlphaTauri is not going to finish anything better than 10th. Straight up.
I mean, they're going to, and you're going to get a tattoo.
I don't know, man. I just don't see it. I don't see it. The hard part is when Daniel Ricciardo's back and driving. I want to cheer for him. I want him to do well. I also don't want a tattoo if I don't have to get one, though.
I mean, I don't make the rules, man.
True.
It's going to happen. It's going to happen. So
I started
get
looking at
ready.
tattoos you're going to get.
Oh, did you? I haven't done that for you yet.
Probably.
I should get
Well,
on
you
that,
don't
though.
need to.
Yeah, no, I should definitely get on that. All right, mini award show.
Yeah.
Let's start with P1 of the week. Who you got?
Carlos fucking Sainz, man. He good qualifying. First, it's the second win ever. This to me feels like a better win for him than when he won at Silverstone. He had some fucking big brain moves to keep it together. Everything just went well for him. He was under a lot of pressure the entire race. He controlled the whole fucking race. Just a class drive by him. Yeah, so Carlos Sainz, the
Nice.
smooth operator.
I love that. I love that clip too. Love that pick. I had him on my list as well. I'm trying to decide between the other two that I had.
We can do some honorable mentions.
Yeah, okay. So I have to give it to Liam Lawson because he really showed up. He went from, holy crap, I can't believe AlphaTauri's on their fourth driver to like serious conversations of, do we need to change our future lineup because of this kid? Like in the span of 3 weeks, he went from true reserve to this guy's the real deal very quickly.
Mhm.
And I do genuinely believe that if he does not get the seat at AlphaTauri, I think he will take that Williams seat.
He
for Sargent.
deserves a seat somewhere on the grid.
Well, the only other seat is Sargent.
They haven't renewed his contract yet?
No.
Oh, he has to go
Yeah,
there.
I think he's going to go to Williams. And actually, I think that an Albon Lawson pair would be really great.
I think it'd be phenomenal.
Yeah. So I think, So anyway, Lawson P1 definitely. Can I give my honorable mention?
Yeah.
So my honorable mention, it was going to either be Lando or just McLaren in general, but let's just do McLaren in general because, like we said earlier, they have now kind of flipped Aston Martin in that on the rise team who's really starting to make some noise.
Yeah.
And they're still pretty far off on the constructors' points. They have 139 points. Aston Martin has 217. But if we keep seeing performances the way we have, and if Lance Stroll continues to not be able to start a race, it's possible.
Yeah.
For sure.
Aston Martin just been like out R&D'd this season.
Yeah.
And also Hamilton just passed Alonso in the standings for the drivers, moved into third place.
Yeah, Ferrari and Mercedes are pretty tight as well for the constructors. Mercedes at 289, Ferrari at 265.
Yeah.
So there's still action to be had, I think, in the constructors.
And Red Bull hasn't clinched anything yet.
Yeah, that's technically true.
Yeah. Okay, let's go to our Ferrari of the week.
Yep. You want me to go
You
first?
want to start this off?
Yeah. George Russell. And the wall. My Ferrari of the week is George Russell.
Dude, that hurt so much because he had such a good weekend besides that
Yeah,
last lap.
It's not over till it's over. And this was like the ultimate, like, ball don't lie. Like, you play through the whistle. It's not over till it's over moment of he had an opportunity to win this race. The announcers were literally like...
They were calling Vegas.
Dude, they were, if this was the Masters, like they were ordering his jacket already. Like they were like measuring his sleeve length and everything. Hey, this is the one. He's going to be on the list. Wow.
Yeah, that was so funny, dude.
All time just banana peel Mario Kart moment. Like it was so crazy. I genuinely...
He didn't even get green, or he didn't get red shelled. He got green shelled.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I genuinely feel bad for him. I truly do.
Yeah.
You could tell he was crying.
He was
when
crying.
he was clearly crying. I would probably cry. I feel genuinely bad for him, but man, was it funny.
Yeah, I think Russell's also just kind of soft, so not surprising he cried.
Yeah. Soft boys are okay.
Yeah, he's sensitive.
Yeah.
My Ferrari, I had 3.
Nice.
Because I thought you were going to pick one of mine. You didn't.
Okay.
Red Bull, the biggest Ferrari of the week this week. They just looked like they had no idea what was going on with the car. It looked like they were in preseason testing, the way that they were sliding around this track. Max actually ended up putting together a decent race. But yeah, Red Bull looks so out of what they normally are that they deserve a Ferrari of the week.
I feel like they were more of like a Haas or Alfa Romeo of the week.
I don't know. I think for them, it's like they should.
I guess the expectation is so high.
They should at least be podium.
You're right.
Like podium contentioning every race.
You're
you know, and they're not even there. They weren't even close to sniffing a podium here.
What were the honorable mentions that you had?
I had Aston Martin for one driver, unfortunately not finishing. Thankfully, he's okay. And then Alonso for just looking like a train wreck out there.
Yeah.
Then I had Yuki Tsunoda for going back to back without a start. Well, he started, but
that's
without
funny.
making it through 2% of the race.
I had those 2 on my list
No
of
shit.
potentials as well.
Yeah, okay.
Aston Martin and then Yuki - AlphaTauri. But I've been harping a lot on AlphaTauri, so I want to let it go. But yeah, you're right.
Those your guys. Yuki's your guy.
Yeah, those are good picks. All right, shake and bake of the week. I think we probably have the
we
same
probably
shake
have the
and
exact
bake.
same one. I think I saw this even as a fucking meme.
Was it Sainz and Lando?
Yeah,
It's the obvious answer.
There is no better shake and bake for non-teammates too.
Yeah.
It
It is special when you get a shake and bake of non-teammates.
Yeah. If it wouldn't have been them, and if George Russell wouldn't have crashed, I think a cool shake and bake would have been Mercedes.
Yeah.
Because they were both like, you know what? Let's not race each other. Let's just get this job fucking done. And I was thinking about that too. Like if you were, I'm going way off here. So Hamilton was behind Russell, and they're like catching up to the lead pack to 1-2. If you are not a Mercedes driver and you're following George to try to catch up to the pack, are you trying to pass George on the way to do that? Or are you just, I'm going to ride the coattails of this guy till we catch up to the lead drivers and try to make something happen at the end? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, well, I think with like 3 laps to go, I think Hamilton was doing what you just described. But once he realized that George wasn't probably going to make the pass, he tried to make a run at George.
He did.
And so I think to your point, like had George made the pass quickly and then Hamilton made the pass, and so basically they were both looking to pass for first, I think Hamilton would have went for it.
Yeah.
That would have been awesome. As much as I'm happy that we saw the Sainz Lando 1-2, if we would have gotten to George Hamilton 1-2, or Russell Hamilton 1-2, and they were
going
balls to the wall.
That would have been a fun.
That would have
last
been
lap.
really fun to see them really
Let
go
them
for
loose.
it. And then if they would have DNF'd out together, that would have been electric. And,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, yeah, that is
My other
would be the other shake and bake.
My other shake and bake was Stroll and his safety regulations, because I think that's just like incredibly impressive that like he was able to walk away with that. Honestly,
Yeah. Oh, also the big lizard and the small lizard.
those guys were fucking sick.
Yeah, I don't know if any of them got hit. If they got hit, not shake and bake. If they
Yeah.
managed to not get hit, big time shake and bake.
Huge shake and bake.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was like
What's the opposite of a shake and bake? I guess it's a Ferrari kind of.
in this, yeah, but like I don't know if like shake and bake is something good. Maybe like a pump and dump or a. I'm trying to think of-
Pump and dump. My yeah, it's actually pretty good. I do have a pump and dump for the week.
Okay,
then.
if we're going with this.
Yeah, and it is Hamilton and the Mercedes team. Did you see this? There's all these pictures of after the podium and everything. There's all these pictures of Hamilton celebrating with Ferrari and with McLaren. The Mercedes team didn't show up.
Wow.
Like none of them. And apparently this happened to Russell previously too, earlier in the year. That if they don't win, they just like don't show up,
That's fucking weird.
which was very strange.
especially because that car is like not really capable of winning.
I mean, it is.
It is,
But
but,
like, I don't know. It was just weird. I saw all this stuff
Yeah.
about how Mercedes just straight up didn't show up to celebrate with Hamilton.
I don't
And
like
the
that.
thing is, like, Hamilton doesn't care.
No, he doesn't. He's a
did you-
7-time world champ.
Yeah. Did you see his comment when they were asking about he's coming up on a record for number of podiums, I believe. I think it was like 160 or something like that podiums. And the post-race interview, he was sitting there with Sainz and Norris, and they were like, you're coming up, I think it was 160, like, or maybe 130. You're coming up on, this number of podiums. How does it feel? And he looked over at Lando and Carlos and was like, have you guys even been in 130 races? I was like, let's go. It was so good. Every now and then,
landed on the table.
every now and then Hamilton
got his moments.
has those moments. As much as I like to rag on him for being
Yeah,
boring, every
same.
now and then he has one of those moments where I'm
Yeah.
like, yeah, you're still the GOAT. I love it.
Yeah.
That's really all I had for this week.
Yeah, same, dude. We
Can
got
I,
Japan.
Can I share my P1 of the week?
Oh yeah.
Jake,
Oh yeah.
we
Jake.
got to get you in on this.
Yeah, Jake. I didn't know you wanted one. Yeah, you got it. Let's go. Do you have all three? Do you have a P1, a Ferrari, and a shake and bake?
Not really.
And a pump and dump?
Well, I mean, my P1 just have to give it to the man, Landon Morris.
Landon Morissette.
I just can't let it go, guys. I'm just pretty
Lan-
hyped for my boy Landon here, and it's pretty electric.
That's big.
Yeah, well, he'll listen to this, and
He will,
and he'll be really appreciative that you gave him the massive
Special
shout out.
shout out.
So yeah, that's huge.
That's good. That's all I got for this week, though.
All right,
Maybe
cool.
I'll have more next week.
Yeah.
Thank you. All right,
Good
sounds
shit.
good. Well, see you guys.
Yeah, see you guys.
Have a good week. We hope you enjoyed the effing podcast. Check out our socials for additional content, and we will see you out on the grid.